And I was about to spar, before I was about to spar Tank, he was sparring this big boy.
A heavyweight.
Heavyweight boy. And Tank hit that nigga, he hit him so hard that he was on the top of the rope just like this.
He keeps the speed. Gervonta Tank Davis, if he put on the right weight, put the right weight on, and, you know, have the lean muscle right, he can look fantastic somewhere in the mid 150s, dare I say, close to 160 against Jake Paul. Dare I say, close to 160 against Jake Paul. And dare I say it, I think that's the right thing for him to do. Why? I've been saying this. Number one, fighters need to start fighting closer to their walk-around weight. They're just healthier that way. They're just better and healthier that way. I mean, I know it's probably surprising them too. Like, that was the best I've seen Terrence Bud Crawford. Lamont Roach, he's fighting Pitbull at 140, coming from 130 and a pissed up at 135. You have Shakur Stevenson talking about fighting Teofimo Lopez. They're very close to making that fight at 140. And I think all of them would look their best there, especially Roach, where he ain't knocking nobody out down there at 130. But I bet you he'll be swatting far more at 140. Gervonta Tank Davis, I think, just like the others, fighting closer to your walk-around weight is just going to be one of the better performances for Gervonta Tank Davis. He's going to learn a lot about his body. He's going to learn a lot about himself and where he should campaign moving forward. Maybe even meeting Roach in that rematch at 140 himself. Also, another reason why I think it behooves him to come in knocking at 160 pounds is because of Jake Paul. It's not like Tank is going to dodge every punch Jake Paul throws, all right? Some of those going to land, and more than likely it's going to land on his guard. Tank is going to have his guard up. We need for him to be solid enough, his foundation and his base solid enough, so when Jake Paul hits him with those shots, he doesn't go flying around the room.
Tank has been training with significantly larger sparring partners as part of his preparation for the upcoming fight against Jake Paul. However, this approach isn't unfamiliar to him. Since early in his career, Davis has challenged himself by facing heavier opponents, using those experiences to refine his timing and accuracy. Thanks to his impressive power and high ring intelligence, taking on bigger fighters has always been well within his capabilities. In recent training videos, Gervonta Davis appears sharper, leaner, and more focused than ever. Every punch he lands shows a blend of power and precision, honed through years of dedication. His footwork is quick and light, yet each movement commands presence. Those watching his training can see that every strike on the heavy bag fits into a carefully planned rhythm. The intensity in his eyes, combined with the smooth coordination of speed and strength, tells a clear story of his commitment. Analysts in the boxing community have noted that Davis looks to be in the best shape he's been in years, describing him as battle-ready. The mix of power, timing, and control Tank is showing in camp has sparked renewed discussions about just how dangerous he still is at the highest level. A major point of discussion ahead of this matchup is the size difference between the fighters. Some believe Jake Paul's natural weight advantage could give him the upper hand, while others insist that Tank's technical skill will neutralize any physical gap. Fans are divided, questioning whether the size disparity will pose a challenge for Davis. However, those familiar with his career know he's consistently taken on heavier opponents in sparring and competition. Supporters argue that boxing isn't determined by weight alone, but by timing, discipline, and ring intelligence. Tank's defensive tactics and sharp counterpunching make him a tough challenge for anyone, no matter their size. His team stays confident that his experience with pressure and movement will allow him to use Jake's size against him. For Davis, this fight isn't about raw power. It's about showcasing skill.
Is happening. WBA lightweight champion Gervonta Davis, who's unbeaten in 31 professional contests, takes on the self-proclaimed problem child, Jake Paul, one of the most influential and marketable global personalities. Paul and Davis square off in Miami after doubts around the fight being sanctioned in Georgia triggered a change in venue. Neither fighter can weigh more than 195 pounds. The weight is perhaps the most surprising factor. Paul has boxed most of his career around 200 pounds, the cruiserweight limit, but did tip the scales at 227 pounds when he faced off against Iron Mike Tyson last year. Davis, much smaller in stature, competes at the 135 pound mark and has also won world honours at super featherweight.
And despite some discussions about possibly dropping down to 10 ounces, the pair seem set to wear 12-ounce gloves.
And in terms of distance, despite the exhibition tag, the fight will play out over 10 3-minute rounds with 3 scoring judges at ringside, but the result will not be officially recorded on their professional record.
Lamont Roach has openly expressed his dissatisfaction with Davis, citing unresolved tensions between them. His recent comments have sparked discussion, with analysts detecting a note of bitterness in his tone. Many believe Roach's frustration is driven less by true conflict and more by jealousy over Tank's success and financial achievements. While the two once had mutual respect, Roach's remarks now carry a sharper, more personal edge. Observers think he finds it hard to come to terms with Davis's continued media dominance and lucrative paydays, while others stay out of the spotlight. Boxing experts note that when fame and money get involved, rivalries often become emotionally charged. For Davis, though, these distractions appear to have little impact. He remains calm and focused, letting his work in the gym speak for itself.
Rip, the question is direct. Reportedly, Tank's gonna make $40 million around there to fight Jake Paul. Would you do the same thing if you were in the situation? And he's like, actually, this is what I explained before. You're beating around the bush. It's really a yes or no. I would do it. I would take the 40 mil, or I wouldn't take the 40 mil. But let's listen to this long, drawn out explanation.
There's about $40 million that he's going to get paid. If you were in his shoes, wouldn't you do the same thing?
See, now, this is something that I explain and express, and I hope everybody gets. That opportunity is an opportunity that you probably cannot pass up. But it's about how you handle it. It's about how you go about it. A lot of people don't know they actually exercise his rights to the rematch, so that contractually binds us to a fight. You cannot breach that unless you do what you have to do to handle the business, to be like, okay, well, we mutually agree to let you move on and or swindle around and fight Jake Paul for this money. If you think I'm going to sit back by the wayside and sit there and be like, well, even though I'm contracted to fight this guy for this amount of money on this certain day, I'm just going to sit here and be cool with, oh, he might not ever fight me, and he's going to go fight and get paid and get this money, and I'm not supposed to get anything.
Boxing analysts often point out that Davis doesn't receive the recognition he truly deserves for his achievements. They note that many of his opponents gained significant fame after facing him, which speaks volumes about his impact on the sport. Fighters who were relatively unknown suddenly become household names simply by stepping into the ring with him. This trend underscores Davis's star power and his ability to boost the profiles of anyone he competes against. Critics who argue that he hasn't faced top-tier competition are reminded that just sharing the ring with Davis can make or break a fighter's career. Experts emphasize that his wins don't just establish him as a powerful knockout artist, but also as a central figure who carries much of the boxing world's spotlight.
Going discussion in the boxing world about Gervonta Davis and Gervonta Davis, his resume, who he's gonna fight, the competitors that he's gonna fight. And every once in a while, something happens that proves that Gervonta Davis is the face of that. If he's not the face of boxing because people just don't want him to be that, man, he is real close to it, because other than Canelo Alvarez, and even consider Canelo Alvarez included, nobody in boxing has divisions circulating around him like Gervonta Davis does. And that was proved during this Lamont Roach versus Pitbull Cruz announcement for their pay-per-view. Just think about this. Gervonta Davis, they always say that Gervonta Davis has a poor resume, but yet Gervonta Davis, guys that fight Gervonta Davis, lose to Gervonta Davis, or get a draw to Gervonta Davis, can fight one another and make an anticipated pay-per-view between the two of them, because that fight with Pitbull Cruz is a very, very popular fighter with Mexican fight fans. Lamont Roach got a lot of name exposure with black fight fans and Mexican fight fans and white fight fans, all with his draw that he got against Gervonta Davis. Now they believe that this is going to be able to be a profitable endeavor for a pay-per-view. Now let me also tell you that Rolly Romero, who was somebody else that Gervonta Davis fought in the past, will be on a pay-per-view that's going to be successful, most likely, when he defends his WBC.
Stephen Fulton stepped up to defend Davis against ongoing claims that he fights solely for money. Fulton stressed that every boxer deserves to secure their future after years of putting their body and health on the line in the ring. He pointed out that Tank has already reached remarkable milestones, winning world titles and delivering unforgettable performances. Taking on high-profile bouts at this stage is completely understandable. Fulton highlighted that fighters have the right to balance their legacy with financial stability, especially given the unpredictable nature of their careers. His remarks reminded fans that Tank has earned the freedom to pick fights that make sense both professionally and personally. Support from a respected peer like Fulton added weight to the argument that Davis's choices are guided by wisdom rather than greed.
Anybody in that position would have taken that fight, especially with the payout. It's like, that's a no-brainer, but I understand. I still feel for Lamont. That's my boy. Like, he still want his rematch. But then when you be realistic about the money situation, you're changing your whole family life. Like, you know what I'm saying? It's people hate on it because they're not in that position. I'm not saying Lamont. I'm speaking like other boxers would be like, oh, he this for that. He's this. It's a side quest. It's a little side quest. Because what happened when Floyd and all these guys went on WWE, but then they get right back to what they doing? You know what I'm saying? So it's just like, it's another little side quest. I'm all for people just getting their money. So get the best, make the most that you can out of this entertainment world. Cause I mean, I don't know. I would have done it as far as the money aspect, cause none of us would deny that money. They talking like they would. None of them would deny that money.
Luke Thomas offered a different perspective on the situation. While he acknowledged Davis's powerful knockout ability and technical skill, he sensed something was off this time. In interviews and public appearances, Tank didn't display his usual intensity ahead of a major fight. Thomas observed that Davis appeared unusually calm, almost bordering on indifferent, as if this bout didn't truly challenge him on an emotional level. To Luke, it seemed like Tank was approaching the fight more as a business opportunity than a test of his skill. He speculated that the buzz around Jake Paul, rather than the competition itself, might be what captured Tank's interest. Still, Thomas conceded that even a less than fully motivated Davis remains a threat, given his talent and experience are hard to match.
So in that sense, it's a little bit different. It's not different in the sense of a boxer in his prime or relative prime straying off the path, but this one is not. It's not like someone else, in a similar weight. It's like completely the opposite. And so that makes it, I think, look and feel weird. And then on top of it, obviously, Gervonta's got other business to handle. He looked to me, Gervonta, absolutely, completely disinterested. Even at the beginning of this year, and even at the pre-fight Lamont Roach stuff, Tank was talking about how much time he has left in boxing, and he wasn't much. The Lamont Roach fight, it blew up in his face, but Lamont Roach was cherry picked. I think Tank thought, I'll just fight another guy from, the mid-Atlantic area who's, remember Roach came up from 30 to 35 to fight him. And Tank thought he was just going to cruise, and then it blew up in his face, and you're left with that. So like, you're making a point about like, oh, he's got this obligation. That's true, but he was already fucking around. He was already taking opponents that, again, I think Roach showed everyone that was a mistake, but put yourself in Tank's mind. Tank was taking a fight against someone he was clearly, in his mind anyway, better than, and was just going to cruise. So he was already in that state. Then you marry that with statements like, I don't know how much longer I'm going to be doing this, and blah, blah, blah. And, I'm worried about going to therapy because it'll take away my competitive edge.
While some view this fight primarily as a payday, others see it as a powerful statement from Gervonta Davis. He's not just entering the ring for recognition, he's making it clear that true fighters can command attention on any stage. Whether inside the ropes or amid social media hype, a victory here would not only solidify his standing in boxing history, but also prove that skill and discipline outweigh internet fame. Davis is well aware that the audience watching includes both dedicated boxing fans and casual followers drawn by Jake Paul's popularity. For him, this fight is a chance to shift the spotlight back to genuine competition. A decisive win would send a clear message that real talent still outshines manufactured celebrity.
In this particular in the press conference, and you can just look at him and tell, like, no, this dude he's gonna get this money for sure, because there's so much money out there to be had. But Jake Paul better be not playing around, man. Not get cute, not play any games, don't hit him in the back of the head, don't rabbit punch him, don't do any of that stuff, man, because Mike Tyson, first of all, a lot of people think Mike Tyson was pulling punches on Jake Paul, and a lot of people think that Anderson Silva was pulling punches on him too. You're not going to have a little Gervonta out there pulling punches on you, man, if you're out there playing games. So, I don't like the fight at all. However, as far as it being an entertaining situation, I almost guarantee you that fight itself is going to be entertaining. That it's going to be something that you look at and you're going to say, man, everybody's going to watch it. Everybody's going to want to know what happens in it. But at the same time, it's kind of like what people think, when you see a car crash, like you're driving down the road and all of a sudden the traffic gets heavy and you're like, man, I'm going to be in traffic for a long time. And then you drive forward a little bit and then you see, oh man, this is some accident on the other side of the road and everybody just slowing down to watch. That's the type of entertainment that you can expect from this fight between Gervonta Davis and Jake Paul. There's going to be a lot of people watching it, but I gotta say, man, you really can't blame the guy on what he's doing. And there's a lot of criticism flying on Gervonta Davis. It's not Gervonta Davis's fault that boxing took this turn.
Charleston White is known for speaking his mind, and he didn't hold back when sharing his opinion on Jake Paul. He sees Jake's career as more entertainment-focused than truly athletic. Charleston believes that when Jake steps into the ring with someone like Gervonta Davis, the gap between a trained champion and an influencer will be undeniable. He emphasized that Tank's sharp reflexes, precise timing, and extensive experience facing world-class opponents will highlight Jake's lack of genuine boxing skill. According to White, fame may attract attention, but it can't substitute for real experience. He insists that true boxing legends are forged through tough competition, not exhibition bouts or social media hype. His straightforward view echoes what many dedicated fans feel, that Davis's talent operates at a level Jake hasn't come close to reaching. And when they finally face off, that difference will be clear.
Davis and Jake Paul fight. And what he said was, look, man, do not pick against Jake Paul, because he didn't believe that any of the fights that Jake Paul have had to date really have been a real thing. And that the boxing world is looking for that great WHITE hype. And Jake Paul is going to be that guy, even though he really can't do it in a real boxing match. So he was basically reflecting and saying that he, the saying where they say, believe a half of what you hear, half of what you see, and none of what you hear. He adjusted it to say, don't believe anything you hear and anything you say, anything that you hear and anything that you see. And honestly, man, when it comes to internet boxing, YouTube boxing, and what people say is going on in the media, without a doubt, I think Charleston White is 100% right about that. Don't believe anything you hear. Don't believe anything you see. Wait to see how things play out, and ultimately everything will come out in the wash. Well, going into this fight with Gervonta Davis, I had my concerns about the fight because of the same type of reasoning that Charleston White used, except for mine is slightly different. I don't think that either one of these guys are going to try to do too much damage to each other. Number one, because if it's scripted, which more than likely to an extent it will be, Gervonta Davis is not going to put himself in a situation where Jake Paul is going to actually be able to hurt him.
That truth will be impossible to ignore. That wraps up today's video. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned for more updates. See you next time.